Hi, in this video we are going to go through some word problems that is based on fractions. If you have not watched my other video, please do so. You can find them in my YouTube channel. And before we begin, please consider subscribing because you don't want to miss any new videos that I'm going to upload. So with that, let's start today's lesson. First question is about direction involving fractions, telling you which direction you should turn. It's quite a common question, and this is how we will handle this kind of question. Okay, so here we have two turns. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to take note of the direction and the fraction itself. So there's two things here, the fraction and the direction. Now, if we look at the whole question, let's read the whole question first. After making a 3/4 turn clockwise and then one half turn anti-clockwise, Ivan was facing Z. Where was he facing first? So we have his final bearing where he's facing Z. So we need to find out where he was facing at first. So Ivan is here in the middle. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to figure out where he was facing first. So this is a big clue. So we need to make sure that we work backwards, and when we work backwards, the anti-clockwise will become clockwise, the clockwise will become anti-clockwise. The fractions remains the same. Alright, so let's see. Now he's facing Z. So what I'd like to do is I like to draw an arrow to show where he's facing. Okay, we're gonna do this turn first, and then we're gonna do the next one here. So again, because we are working backwards, we wanna know where he was facing first. So he turned half a turn anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise is the opposite of the clock's direction. So now we're gonna go clockwise, and we're gonna go half a turn. Okay, so half a turn, you need to know a few things first. Okay, so one turn, okay, one full turn basically is 360 degree. Okay, half a turn would be half of that, which is 180 degrees. Okay, you also need to know 1/4 turn, and 1/4 turn is 90 degrees. So these are basically the important things you need to know. And so we're gonna go straight to the question now. Half a turn anti-clockwise. So we're going to go clockwise. We're gonna go this direction, and we're gonna go 180 degree. So now he's facing X. Okay, I can label this 1 because I labeled 1 here. So that's my first rotation. Then I'm gonna turn 3/4 anti-clockwise. Okay, because again we are going backwards. So I will draw these lines here to help me guide how far I've turned. And I'm going to use the inner part here. So I'm going to go, this is 1/4. Okay, this is 2/4, and this is 3/4. So this is where I'll end up facing. I'll facing Y. Okay, so again, what are the important things to take note? The direction, the fraction itself, and whether you are working backwards or you are working as per normal forward. Okay, so if you are working backwards, remember the anti-clockwise become clockwise, and the clockwise becomes anti-clockwise. And you'll also need to know one full turn is 360 degrees, half a turn is 180 degrees, and 1/4 turn is 90 degrees. Next, another common question, and it's fairly simple, but a lot of students they are not sure how to solve this question. Alright, because here we have two fractions and we need to know what fraction is this question mark representing, and what fraction is exactly halfway between 4, 7 and 5, 7. Now, they are confused because they can't figure out what's in between 4 and 5 as a fraction. So what's the trick? It's very simple. What's in between 4 and 5? Forget about the fraction first. Okay, we forget about the fraction first. So in between 4 and 5 is 4.5. Now, the denominator will stay the same. So we make it into a fraction. And this is where a lot of students, they are not sure what to do, because they say, I have a decimal and a fraction, what do I do? Now, since the decimal is 0.5, it's very simple. We can just multiply by 2 and we will get rid of the decimal. This will become 9 over 14. So basically this question mark is 9 over 14. So again, what do? You just find what's in between 4 and 5, and if it's a decimal, all you need to do is multiply the fraction by 2, and remember the denominator stays the same. Okay, on to the next question. Okay, the next question. 1/3 of a number is 16. What is 5/8 of the same number? Again, this is a fairly simple question. Once you've mastered this, it's not that difficult. Okay, in fact, it's quite simple. The first thing you want to do is, or first thing you need to know is that the denominator, in fraction, the denominator represents the total. So this number 16 is the actual number. Okay, and don't forget, fractions also means just units. So there's 3 parts and there's 1 part here. So the total of the number will be 3 parts and only 1 part, okay, is the 16 here. Okay, we are focusing only on 1 part. You can draw the model if you want. Okay, for this case I'll just draw for you. Okay, but once you've understood what this means, okay, once you understand what this actually means, you don't need to draw the model anymore. So the whole thing is 16. Okay. Sorry. Let me erase that. 1 part is 16. Okay. So 1 part is 16 and the whole number is 3 units. So we need to find everything first. What we'll do is we'll take 16 times 3. Okay, so that will be 18. Okay, 3, 48. Okay, so that's 48 for the whole thing. Now, next we're going to solve this part here. So how do we solve this part here? Okay, we need to look at the denominator again. The denominator again is the total. So what do we have here? We have a denominator of 8. So 8 units is 48. We want to find 1 unit. Okay, in unit method, usually we will try to find 1 unit. So what do we need to do? Okay, another mistake that a lot of students make. Sometimes they confuse which number to write first, especially if the number on the left here, the unit, is larger than the number on the right. For example, I'll give you an example here. Okay, this is very important. Alright, let's say 10 units equal 5. You want to find 1 unit. The correct way will be 5 divided by 10. That will give us, you can write it as 1/2 or 0.5. But what some students would do is they would say, okay, 10 units is 5, and then when they want to find 1 unit, instead of taking 5 divided by 10, what they would do is they would say, oh, it's 10 divided by 5 because 10 is larger than 5. And they said the answer is 2. This is wrong. So how or what can you do to remember this? It's very simple. After you do the first line here, remember this number. This number does not move. You write down this number first. Okay, so when you write down this number, straight away you know, oh, I have 5 already. So it's going to be 5 over 10. Okay, if you want to make it even clearer, okay, you do 1 unit, and then you remember this number you wrote down, write it down again quickly so you don't forget, and then you do the divide sign, divide by 10. Alright, and gives you 0.5. Okay, so you won't make this mistake. Alright, so for example, this mistake here, when you do 1 unit, you know you're supposed to write down 5, so you will not make this mistake of writing down 10, because you remember straight away that this number will just transfer down. It doesn't move, it just transfers down. Okay, so here we have 48. This number just transfers down, divided by 8. Okay, so we have 6. So 1 unit is 6, and we want 5 parts out of 8 of the same number. So we'll get 5 units, which is 5 times 6 equals 30. So that's the answer for this question. So again, quite simple question. All you need to remember is denominator is the total. So the first part, the denominator is 3. The second part, the denominator is 8. So there's 2 totals here. But you don't need to worry, because you can work them separately. So for the first part, you have 3 parts, and you're focusing only on 1. Remember, the numerator is what you are focusing on, and they say 1 part out of the 3 parts of a number. Only 1 part, they're talking about 1 part, is 16. Okay, so that's why we have this model. So the first 1 unit is 16, and we can find the whole number, okay, which is 16 times 3, and then we have the number itself, and we can use the second fraction now, where the denominator is 8. So we'll, instead of 3 units equals to 48, now we say 8 units equals to 48. Okay, so on to the next question. Okay, since this is there's fractions that involves unit, okay, and then there's fractions that doesn't have unit, like this 1/4. Okay, for this case, I actually compiled most of them here, okay, fractions with units, because I want to go through with you how to solve fractions that comes with units first. Alright, so I put this as an example to show you there's 2 types, okay, and then the next one, okay, you will see there's fractions that has units, okay, and then you will see fractions that has no units. Let me scroll, there you go. Okay, fractions with no units, and there's fractions with and without units combined into one question. Okay, we will go through that example later on. Okay, here it is. Okay, with units, without units. Okay, basically like the first example that I put in the question here. So we have fractions with unit and without units. Okay, so we're not going to solve this one yet. Okay, we'll solve this one later. We're going to solve all the fractions that has units. Now, what you need to know and what you need to remember is that if the fractions comes with units, those are the actual measurement. Okay, those are the actual measurements. So that means we say this: Jane had 4/5 kg of flour. She has 4/5 kg of flour. It doesn't mean she has 4 out of 5 parts of flour. It doesn't mean like this. Okay, oh, she has 4 parts of flour only out of 5 possible parts. No. Okay, so this is not what it means. Okay, what it means is she has 4/5 kg of flour. Don't forget that fractions can be converted to decimals. So what does this mean? Okay, I'll just go through with you so that you'll understand what this actually means. Okay, we're going to change this into decimals. So when we change to decimals, there are a few ways to change to decimals. One of them is to make the denominator 10, 100 or 1000. So if we make the denominator 10, we times 2, we get 8 over 10. So what does this mean? This just means 0.8 kg. Now, this is what 4/5 kg means. When we say Jane had 4/5 kg of flour, it basically means she has 0.8 kilogram of flours. That's all. So remember, if there is units or there are units attached to the fraction, okay, take note that it is a real actual measurement of the object or of the item. So why is that important? Because then you know most of the time when you have units attached, you need to use addition or subtraction. So what happens if you don't have? Okay, I'll tell you now, but we'll go through the example later. When you don't have units, chances are you will need to use multiplication here. So let's take a look at our question first. So Jane had 4/5 kg of flour. She gave away 1/4 kg of flour to her neighbor and 1/5 kg of flour to her sister. How much flour had she left? Now, if this is a paper 2 questions, of course you are free to use a calculator, but it's good to know how to subtract fractions and to practice them. So what you're going to do first? Okay, we're going to subtract the first fraction, which is 1/4. So what do? We change to a common denominator, times 4 here, times 5 here. So when we times the denominator, we times the numerator also, by the same number. Okay, so for the left side, the fraction on the left, we multiply by 4. Fraction on the right, we multiply by 5. So what do we get? We get 20, we get 16 over 20. Okay, we get 16 over 20 minus 5 over 20. What does this give us? 11 over 20. When is this? This is after she gave 1/4 to her neighbor. But we still need to do the second step. We need to minus 1/5 kg. So now we have 11 over 20. We're going to subtract 1/5. And again, make common denominator. Okay, so here is multiply by 4, multiply by 4, minus 4 over 20. So what do we get? 7 over 20. So this is the answer. Okay, so straightforward. If you see units, it's straightforward. All you need to do is add or subtract. Okay, no multiplications, no divisions involved. Now, next question. Ray jogged 4.5 kilometers on Monday. He jogged 3/4 kilometers more on Monday than Tuesday. Now, this kind of questions, the problem comes in understanding what the setter is saying. Okay, you need to know which day he jogged more. Alright, so he jogged 3/4 kilometer more when? On Monday. So he jogged more on Monday than Tuesday. So how far did Ray jog on Tuesday? We're going to find on Tuesday, and we have to change our answer to decimals. Again, if this is a paper 2 question, feel free to use your calculator. Alright, so if you at any point of time, if you feel that you want to try the questions first, feel free to just pause the videos and attempt the questions first, and then if you want, you can after you have solved the question, you can resume the video and see how I solve. Alright, so take note about on how I solve the question, and take note of the answers. Now, again, this one, there's no both of them has units. So straight away in your head, you know, okay, I'm not gonna use multiplication for this. Alright, so again, a lot of students, they confuse. What they do is they will do modeling they will do multiplications. Alright, so that's what they will do. So for this case, we don't need to do any of those things. All we need to do is we need to know whether we need to add or subtract. And in this case, since we jog more on Monday, we want to find Tuesday, we need to do subtraction. So 4.5 minus 3/4. Alright, so we change this fraction to denominator 4. We have 4 2/4 minus 3/4. Alright, now this is interesting. I've seen a lot of students, what they do is they take 4. I can take 2 minus 3, so I will take 3 minus 2, and they will say 4 1/4. Nope. Okay, so that's not how you solve this kind of fraction. You cannot just decide, oh, this number is smaller, the left number is smaller, I will take the larger number and subtract the smaller number. Okay, things don't work that way. So what can you do? You need to sort of regroup. You will need to take one whole from the 4 wholes. So if you take 1 whole from the 4 wholes, the 4 wholes becomes 3 wholes. And when you take 1 whole, okay, so 1 whole will be 4 out of 4. Alright, so to recap, just to recap, remember, 1 over 1, numerator and denominator the same, will be 1 whole. If I do 2 over 2, what do you think it will be? Will it be 2 wholes? Nope. Okay, as long as the denominator and numerator is the same, it will always be 1 whole. Okay, if you like, you can take 10,000 over 10,000. That will give you 1 whole also. Alright. Okay, so let's continue with our question. Let me just erase this first. Okay, sorry, it's taking a while. Alright, let's go. Now, so we borrowed, or we regroup. Okay, we took 1 whole from the 4, so we have 3 wholes here left. So remember, when you regroup, this 4, okay, will become 4 over 4, because that's 1 whole. So 4 over 4 plus 2 over 4 will give you 6 over 4. Okay, so what did we do here? Let me put in brackets. This is the 3. Okay, where do we get the 3? Because we took 1 whole from the 4. And then we have, sorry, let me write that again. We have 4 over 4. Why did we have 4 over 4? Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm clear about this. We don't have 4 over 4 because this number is 4. No, we have 4 over 4 because the denominator is 4. Okay, so we need to add to this fraction that's already there. Okay, then we can minus the 3 over 4. Alright, so this here, okay, this here is this 6 over 4. Alright, so that's how we get the 6 over 4. Now, we're going to do our subtraction. Minus 3/4. Okay, so what do we get? I'll just write the equal here. Normally we don't write 2 equals on one line, alright, because there's not enough space. I've already written something here, so I'll just put the equal there. 6 minus 3. Now the 3 wholes, there's a whole number here, there's no whole number here, so we treat it as 0. So we just have 3 here. Now 6 minus 3 is basically 3/4. Okay, but we need to give our answer in decimal. If you remembered our lesson clearly in fractions part 1, if I'm not mistaken, I've mentioned to you to memorize how to change quarters into decimal. Okay, so what do? We multiply by 25. Multiply by 25. So we get 375 over 100, which simply equals to 3.75. Okay, I think I've exceeded about 20 minutes. Okay, but let's just finish this last question and then we'll end the video and we'll continue the rest of the questions in the next video. So I think the word problem will have a few parts. Next question. Tim had some paint in the container. After Tim used 58 liters, again, oh, there's a unit. Okay, so there's a unit. So let's see what happens next. After Tim used 58 liters of the paint and bought another 1/5 liters, again, there's unit of paint. There were 4 liters in the paint left. How many liters of the paint were there in the counter at first? So we want to find at first. Okay, we want to find at first. So that means we don't know what's at first. Alright, so let's read the story again and let's write down the equation. At first, I have some paint. Alright, then I use 5/8 liters. Okay, and then I bought 1/5 liter. And in the end, I have 4 liters of paint. So I want at first. So at first, I do not have this because I bought it. I have this. Why? Because I use it from the container. Okay, since I don't have this, my first step will be to take away that I don't have. So it's 4 minus 1/5. So what do I do now? I have a whole number and I'm subtracting fractions from whole number. How do I subtract that? I have no fraction here. So what do I do? Again, we do a regrouping. We take one whole from there. So this is a good example. So we will not get 4/4. Okay, we can write 4/4, but that's not a smart thing to do because then we have to change the denominator to make common denominator with 5 so that we can subtract. So what do? Since we take one whole, and I've already mentioned one whole, you can write any fraction as long as numerator and denominator is the same. So we'll take 5/5 to make life easier for us. Okay, so 3/5/5 minus 1/5. What do we get? 3/4/5. Okay, so we are done with this part. Okay, so what do you notice here? You notice that if we add, we must subtract after that. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. There's a one whole. Okay, so it's always good to check. So what happens if there's a one whole? Okay, after you do the regrouping, okay, you are free to minus the whole number or the fraction first. But my advice, always do the fraction first. Why? Because we want to keep things consistent. Because for example, if we look at the top here, okay, if we look at the top here, if we did not minus the fraction first, if we minus the whole number first, we will say, oh, this one has 4, this one doesn't have 4, doesn't have a whole number. So we would write down 4. After that, when we want to subtract the fractions, we have a problem. Because why? We need to regroup. Okay, because 2, we can subtract 3 from 2. 2 is smaller. Okay, so my advice is to subtract the fraction first. So 5/5 minus 1/5 will give us 4/5. 3 minus 1 equals to 2. So we have 2/4 after giving back the 1/5. Alright, so now we're gonna have to add back what we use. So 2/4 we will add back to 5/8. Simple calculation. Okay, we change this to 40. Okay, change this side to 40 also. So we have 32/40 minus 25/40. This time we'll check, make sure there's no whole numbers here so we don't miss out anything. Okay, so we'll have, again, we'll try to do the fraction. We subtract the fraction first. So 32 minus 5, that will be 7. Okay, so we give some space over there for the whole number. So it's 7/40, and 2 minus nothing is just 2. So So this is our answer. And do not forget, fractions, if you're working with fractions, always give your answer in simplest form and make sure it's not improper fraction. Okay, so we have come to the end. Again, if you like this video, okay, please like and subscribe. Please consider subscribing because it's gonna help the channel grow. Okay, I'm doing this for students who needs help, who don't have time for tuition, or for whatever reason they can't have tuition. So this is free lessons for them. Hopefully you can benefit from this. Alright, I like to hear some comments from you too, how you think you can benefit from this lesson, okay, and whether you have benefited from this lesson. And please write them in the comments below if you have anything. And if you have any questions also, you can write them in the comment. You can reach me in the comment. Okay, I'll try my best to answer them. Alright, so that's the time we have for now. Keep a lookout for my next video. We'll continue with the rest of the questions on fractions, word problems involving fractions. Thank you very much.